While the American economy is sinking like the boat at the end of Jaws, America itself is springing actual leaks, not metaphorical ones. Bad leaks. And it turns out the sinking economy and the leaking country are totally related. All right, last month, 1 billion gallons of toxic coal ash sludge from a nearby power plant burst through a wall in Tennessee, causing massive property and environmental damage. The toxic sludge toppled houses, it dirtied rivers and streams. According to state authorities, at least 54,000 people were left with contaminated water. And then today, another waste pond at a coal-burning power plant ruptured, this time because of some sort of leaky pipe. And this time it happened in northeast Alabama. The damage was more limited than the Kingston, Tennessee disaster, but according to an Associated Press analysis that's out today, there are 156 coal-fired power plants that store ash in surface ponds similar to the one that ruptured last month in Tennessee. And these waste repositories are virtually unregulated. And this structural and environmental crisis is absolutely related to Barack Obama's ostensible top priority, the economy, which today it was revealed lost another 524,000 jobs in a single month. In 2008, for the year, America lost another 2.6 million jobs. That's the highest yearly job loss total since 1945. The unemployment rate shot up from 6.7% in November to 7.2% last month. That's the worst unemployment rate in 16 years. But as Obama's stimulus deal meets opposition from both political parties, consider this. It is not just the job market that is in dangerous freefall in this country. It's the country's infrastructure, too. Not the free broadband or the wind farms that some politicians like to either inveigh against or put on bumper stickers, depending on their politics. It's the stuff that we've already got. It's our dams and our waste holding ponds and the water supplying pipes and our bridges. It's the stuff that, when it fails, makes for a genuine catastrophe. A new documentary from PBS called Blueprint America, The Big Fix, documents some elements of this crisis.
In August of 2007, when that bridge over the Mississippi River in Minneapolis came crashing down, 13 people died and over 140 others were hurt. The disaster in Minnesota woke the nation up to what many highway officials already knew. Structurally deficient bridges and overpasses are an epidemic in every state.
An epidemic. Should opponents of the Obama proposed stimulus plan consider the other crisis, the not just economic crisis that plan intends to remedy? Joining us now is David Brancaccio, host of Now on PBS and also the PBS documentary Blueprint America, The Big Fix. David, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here, Rachel.
Of all the infrastructure flashpoints or crises that you investigated, what would you describe as the most dangerously out of repair?
One day we woke up over the last year and suddenly I-95, the crucial lifeline up and down the East Coast, was out. It was the stretch in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They suddenly found that a bridge was much closer to falling down than anybody thought. So they had to rush to repair it. These are all over the country. But of course it's not just bridges, right? It is ports. It is dams. It is a lot of stuff. For instance, how about this? How you get all this groovy green power into homes requires electric power lines. Those are antiquated. We know that when it gets hot, they fall apart and we have blackouts. But those have to be upgraded. So my program Now on PBS next week is working on that one. Some people don't want the lines through their backyard, all this new construction. But we got to get the power in somehow.
Well, the politics of this is very much about who will be put to work building new things, no matter what the things are. But there is sort of a national security angle on this as well, that disasters, catastrophes, calamities don't have to be caused by deliberate actions of bad people trying to hurt us. They could be caused by our own negligence. I wonder to a certain extent if we're starting to see the redefinition of this as homeland security. That's
a very wise observation, because this kind of stuff can kill people. Yeah. And we learned that horrible day in Minneapolis when the 35W bridge came down. And often we look far away, far overseas, to legitimate threats, but sometimes they're right in front of us. And so what the government is realizing is you can do a couple of things. Hire some people so that there's less of a chance of a Great Depression, and fix what is out there. But here's the thing, it has to be done right, because there are really two jobs here. Job number one is fixing the stuff so that it operates efficiently and doesn't kill anybody. But job number 2 is building a better future for the country. I mean, there's another part of this. If you're spending quadrillions of dollars as we plan to, it has to be smart. So I don't know if you saw in the piece that we did, Blueprint America, we talked to Paul Krugman, the New York Times columnist, but also he had just won his Nobel Prize. He just had stepped off the plane practically from Stockholm. Thing was still shiny. And we're talking to him about this. And he said in the Great Depression, during the New Deal, when all similar spending was being done, by and large, corruption wasn't that much of a problem, because we're worried about that now. We're going to spend all this money on these projects. We don't want to build bridges to nowhere. And Krugman said, back during the New Deal, we were able to hire the best and the brightest to government service. So we got good people, and they didn't abuse and lose all the money. We have to figure out a way to do it this time, because this has been, what, how many decades of people making fun of people who want to do government service?
Right. We've got to change the ethos of that, and that's one of the sorts of things that you can do with a lot of political capital, say, if you were, say, a very popular new president who gave great speeches. The way that politicians now talk about what ought to be funded in this infrastructure spending that is definitely coming of some kind is that projects should be shovel-ready. What does shovel-ready mean, and is that a good way to plan what to do?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, what projects are out there so that if the funding spigot were turned on, they could immediately start digging? One where they've done the environmental impacts, where they have real blueprints. Because if it's people dreaming things up overnight to get the federal money, that could turn out badly. And you're even seeing people like Paul Krugman reevaluate their positions, saying to themselves, well, wait a minute, we want to be sure that there are enough projects out there. What if there are not shovel-ready projects, not enough ready to roll? And so we do have to think more widely about what is infrastructure. You were mentioning it a little bit earlier, but it can be things like investments in alternative energy. And you say, healthcare, is that infrastructure? Well, what about the information technology that could be used to share your medical records if that's something that you want to do? That stuff also has to be fixed with some of this money.
What about the public health capacity to respond to a natural disaster or to a terrorist attack or any other major calamity? I mean,
you
that's
go
all
out to
part of
the public hospitals in places like Los Angeles. You can see, I mean, there are cracks in the wall from earthquakes past. Last time I visited, a lot of investment is clearly needed, and we got the money because Obama says we're going to, what was a $1.2 or $1.3 trillion deficit he was talking about. Yeah. They're going to be spending this. But it's interesting, you're talking about the Tennessee problem when the coal ash suddenly enveloped a town. That's not a natural disaster. That is somebody not doing the proper infrastructure investments to prevent that from happening. How many of those pools of coal ash are there around? It was like 1,300 dumps.
Well, the one that failed in Alabama was inspected on, they announced December 31st that it was fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
PBS's David Brancaccio, it's really nice to see you. Thank you for being here tonight, and congratulations on the documentary.
Thanks. It was a real pleasure to be here.